Hi everyone, this is Tiffany Westrich Robertson reporting to you live from the American College of Rheumatology Conference 2024, and I am a person living with non-radiographic axial spondyloarthritis. On this segment of the debrief, I'm going to focus on new therapies for our diseases, which are focusing primarily right now in lupus, but also in some diseases like myositis and systemic sclerosis as well, or scleroderma. But in this particular model, and the one I'm going to talk about today, they are both in lupus. And so if you're asking, why do they always start in lupus? Lupus is a very complex disease, one of the most, if not the most, in our group of couple dozen diseases. And so if they test in one of the most complex ones to begin with, it's easier to adapt as they start to move into other diseases. So don't be discouraged if you're like, why is it lupus? That's the reason why. So I'm going to cover two different types of cell therapies. That's the big hot topic at this ACR 2024. And these are different than our current biologics. These are using our own cells or donated cells, in some case from others, and you're going to hear about both of those situations today in my report, and then infused back in the body to deplete other cells and they don't know the exact reason why it works, but it ends up putting most people into remission, in a complete remission. So very different than the biologics, where we might do a trial and error and then we might have some improvement, but we still could flare, that type of thing. So these are very cutting edge type of therapies, early in the process, but exciting all the same. So the first one that I'm going to briefly talk about was presented by Bristol Myers Squibb, or BMS. And this one is specific to CAR-T, CAR-T. And essentially in these studies for lupus, they take your T cells, they draw them from your body, and then they go to a lab and they essentially modify these T cells and they will infuse them back into your body. So it takes about 2 weeks before the reinfusion happens. And in the interim, they do a mild form of chemotherapy to then deplete your B cells so that as this gets infused back into your body, there's no type of reaction. Everything is starting fresh and it is a reset. That's a big word I kept hearing all through ACR2 was a reset because of this new cell therapy. So once these patients have been treated, they are coming back with little to no disease activity, primarily 100% remission. They had some people from the cancer community there because this started in cancer. Now it's moving to autoimmune. And the cancer patients who had lymphoma and went through this all are in complete remission 7 years later. And they said the C word used to stand for cancer. Now it stands for cure. So that's a word that we are also not familiar with in our community. So the fact that these types of therapies are on the horizon is super hopeful. The second one, Deb and I met with a company called Artiva, and they are also working in cell therapy. And this one's just a little bit different. Focus also on lupus with or without nephritis, which means the kidney involvement. And their CAR-T therapy is not pulled from your T cells from your body. Instead, it is donated through they said borrowed cells from donated umbilical cord blood. And so these therapies then are infused back into the body. And in this case, there is not, that you don't have the mild chemotherapy part in it, so that part is removed. There's also not a hospitalization part of it. So this is more considered an outpatient type of situation. It is a deep B cell depletion, and the fact that they kept stressing the outpatient administration, and only if there were any potential side effects, complex patient would anyone be hospitalized for observation. So this one is just another option that is being tested. There are current clinical trials on this, and we're getting more information about those. And so this is an exciting time for our diseases. Deb and I were talking earlier and thought, man, in 10, 15 years, this might be like the new treatment, the new wave of the future. The biggest obstacles, obviously, affordability. So these are going to be very expensive. We do not know how government healthcare systems, how we will gain access to those. But we know that if there's a one-time situation where you go into remission and you don't have to actually take these expensive other drugs all year round, that is a huge savings. But the other issue is we don't know how long these last. So we can say that, like, in the people who received these CAR T therapies 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 7 years ago, they're all still in remission, but we just don't know how long it's going to last. And so that's still to be determined. And that's going to really weigh heavily on how do you cost this out when we don't know if it's one time or 2 times in a lifetime or 10 times in a lifetime. So still a lot of research that has to be done in that respect, but really exciting times for all of us. So there you go. There is my update on cell therapy at ACR 2024.